Hey everybody, it's Boardman21, and today's build is going to be a WarPath Forge Guard. Yes, you heard me, WarPath. This build is back, and it's actually incredibly tanky, and it does a lot of damage. Super good for pushing super high in the arena, and also in the Monolith of Fate. A little bit slower of a move build as you're using WarPath, and the speed has gotten nerfed in the last couple of patches, but it does do alright. The way we're running it, it's going to be a bunch of damage over time, and I actually got this build started off of Misha, who helped kind of point me in the right direction as to how to do some damage, and then I changed it up. We're only running 3 of the original skills, but it is incredibly tanky, and let's go ahead and get into it. For skills, we're going to be running Abyssal Echoes, Volatile Reversal, WarPath, Devouring Orb, and Smite. For Abyssal Echoes, we're going to be using this, trying to get the mana down on it and the cooldown down on it and recast as high as possible so that we can spam it a bunch of times because it has a few things that stack. So we have 1 point in Mental Echoes because you're going to need it to be an instacast because you don't want to come out of WarPath. We have 2 points in Reality's Dirge so that we have 150% increased cooldown recovery. This will actually put the cooldown down to 1.6 seconds, which is actually really low for it. And then we have 5 points in Abyssal Remains so that we have that 100% mana efficiency. We have 4 points in Echomancer for more mana efficiency, and the cast speed honestly doesn't matter since it's an instacast. And we have 3 points in Abyssal Infusion. This buff right here, the global melee damage and the global damage over time, actually stacks. So when we have this on recast, I believe the buffs last for 4 seconds. Yeah, if you've recently cast it. So it lasts 4 seconds. And every time that you recast this, the more times you do that within 4 seconds, the more stacks of it you have. And as an instacast with 1.6 second cooldown, it means that you can cast it twice. And we have 4 recasts going on, so you could get 10 stacks of it if that all happens within 4 seconds. So with that, we also have 1 point in Creeping Decay, so the stacks will actually stack, or the buffs will actually stack. We have 1 point in Temporal Echo and 3 points in Abyssal Cadence. For Time Reversal, or Volatile Reversal, I don't know why it's not called Time Reversal, but with this one we have 2 points in Time Sap, 3 points in Warped Time, 3 points in Catching Up, 1 point in Incipient Void Rift, 1 point in Terminal Void Rift, 3 points in Dark Expanse, 2 points in Harbinger of Dust, 2 points in Traveler's Fatigue, 1 point in Time Lost Wisdom, and 2 points in Ancient Reversal. Now here's kind of a trick. So Devouring Orb, which we have on this, is not an instacast. So you might be wondering why I have it on there if we never come out of WarPath. If you use Time Reversal, which is an instacast, and it teleports you back, it automatically knocks you out of WarPath, but you're almost immediately instantly back into WarPath. I think WarPath has a small cooldown, yep, half a second. So you do have to wait that half a second, but in that half second, if you have Devouring Orb on autocast, it will cast it for you without you having to wait. So you get like a free cast of it. So every time you're standing in one spot and you don't plan on jumping back in time, like when you're in a boss fight or if you're in the arena, you can put Volatile Reversal also on autocast, and every time that it casts, it'll cast Devouring Orb for you so that you can get orbs up and you can get the buffs coming out of this, which is attack speed and move speed, which is really nice. For WarPath does like no damage. It does its little hits on, the melee hits, but we're not doing any of the spell damage. We're not doing Time Rot, we're not doing the Abyssal Orbs, we're not doing the Cascading Orbs. All we want WarPath for is mana regen. So since we're using a two-handed staff, the Plague Bearer staff, yes, I just can't get away from that staff, we have 3 points in Reckless Combatant, 2 points in, I'm not even going to pronounce that, 1 point in Parrying Spin, and 5 points in Dark Nexus. This gives you 100% mana regen, which means your normal character regens 10 mana a second. When you're actually in Warpath, you get 20 mana a second. Now that does, you are using mana when you channel it, but since we have 6 points over here, 5 points in Unchained, and 1 point in Reckless Spin, that's negative 9 mana drain per second, and I believe that it costs 10 mana, and it drains 20 mana per second, so you minus off 9 of that, that's 11 mana, you get 20, you're getting 9 mana back a second while you Warpath, so you're actually regenning pretty good while you're in it. If you use a two-handed staff, not the Plague Bearer but a regular staff, you can put mana regen on that and get even more. And then we also have 3 points in Ruling Barrier for armor and protections while channeling. For Devouring Orb, We're using this for a movement speed boost and for damage. This thing's going to do a lot of damage for us. We have 1 point in Dark Moon, so it orbits around us. 2 points in Abyssal Rust, so the move speed is going for us at all times. Cosmic Impact, and 3 points in Sightless Star for that mana efficiency, because we don't have a lot of mana and we're trying to keep it going at all times. 2 points in Void Adept for global damage, 1 point in Hollow Orb, 1 point in Abyssal Emission, this is where a lot of the damage will come from, and 9 points in Dark Torrent, so that it fires the Abyssal Orb as much as possible, because every hit that this does is 2 stacks of poison on the enemies. And then we have Smite. For Smite, we have 4 points in Holy Fire, 4 points in Immolate, 1 point in Fissure, 1 point in Holy Wave, 5 points in Righteous Fury, and 5 points in Righteous Flurry. And we still use Smite because as a melee attack, we're always doing melee attacks, and we have the Axe Throw happening, and then we have 1 idle for Smite proc on a Axe Throw, or on a throwing attack. So Smite will still proc and it'll give us that 50% attack speed. For passives, we have 20 points in the Sentinel, we have 8 points in Fearless, 5 points in Gladiator, 5 points in Armored Clad, and 2 points in Axe Thrower. For Paladin, we have 5 points in Honor, 1 point in Holy Symbol, 8 points in Valor, and 1 point in Divine Bolt. This was to unlock both Smite and Sigils, although we're not using Sigils in this build. We have 15 points in the Void Knight. We have 5 points in Devouring Blade, 5 points in World Eater, 5 points in Void Blades. You can do future attacks if you want. When we hit level 100 and have a few more passives to play around with, we might put back into this, but you do need both Abyssal Echoes, Time Reversal, and Devouring Orb, so this 15 points is needed. For Forge Guard, our last 47 points, we have 4 points in Battle Hardened, 8 points in Steel Aegis, 10 points in Rallying Block, 2 points in Smelter's Might, 1 point in Infinite Bulwark, 8 points in Regenerator, 4 points in Shieldcrafter, 10 points in Retaliation, and the next 10 points we get will go into Tide of Battle to give us that 300% increased damage when we use a potion. For items, we are obviously running the Plague Bearer's Staff. Once again, I have used this on basically every build. This is basically the most OP weapon that I have ever used. So I kind of expect it to get nerfed here in the future. But anyways, for items, we are running Channeling, Armor and Protections while channeling. We have that on both rings and the relic. Since you can't craft on the weapon, obviously we're not running it, but if you want to use a normal staff, you can. Like this one, for instance, has 500 increased armor protections while channeling, and it has mana regen, and it has damage while channeling. Now, you no longer get the poison on hit, which will kill your DPS a little bit, but you will still do decent damage with it. But for me, I'm just a poison fan. I love how much poison stacks up and does damage, so I'm not running that. If you find yourself to want to push a little bit farther in the arena, and it's because you took too much damage and died, but you're okay with, killing things a little slower, I'd put on a two-handed staff that you can craft and get that T5 armor and protections while channeling. We are also running set elemental protections, which we have on both rings, the relic and the amulet, and then we also have 100% glancing blow and a 100% critical strike avoidance. And then in the suffixes, we're also running increased armor protections where we can, and we're running vitality where we can, and we're running protection of any sorts that you can. So that is all of them I've had around. For idols, we actually don't have the idols that you should be using. I only have one, and it's the Introspective Ornate Solar Idol. Of the Fortress, doesn't matter, you don't care about the increased armor, it's the mana efficiency with void spells. You need 4 of those. I have only been lucky enough in hours of farming to get 1, and it was almost the lowest drop that you could get. I got a 10%er when the range is 9 to 25. If you can get 4 of those, you will make your void spells so cheap that you can spam the crap out of Abyssal Echoes, Time Reversal, and Devouring Orb, and the more that you can spam those, the more damage that you will do. With that, my other idol is a chance to create a Void Essence on kill. We have some increased health, we have some protections, and then we have 6 added mana. And then we have the one idol to have an 8% chance to cast Smite when you are hit with a throwing attack. If you do put on 4 of the mana efficiencies and you're no longer having a chance to cast Smite, Smite becomes useless unless you plan on casting it yourself, which I don't think, I'm pretty sure 100% you can't make it an instacast skill, so it's not going to do you any good to really have it on the build unless you put it on autocast and keep coming out of WarPath for it, which whenever you're out of WarPath and not getting all that armor and protections while channeling, you're living yourself up to actually, in my opinion, be one shot or be killed. Now the reason that this build is so tanky, in my opinion, is I think it has everything to do with, one, the Forge Guard passive to get 30% more armor and fire protection, and to take 3% less damage for each hit you've taken recently, up to a 30% maximum. The other thing is you're doing so many hits that the Regenerator, which gives you plus 16 health on hit and plus 16 health on block, which we don't have a super high block chance, but that health on hit, I think when you use Abyssal Echoes and it chains to everything, all of those count as hits, and I think when they do the little area effect, those count as hits, and I think when you use it and it basically instantaneously hits all the enemies around you, you're just getting so much life back. On top of that, you're using WarPath, which is hitting constantly, and then if you have a Devouring Orb out, those count as hits for you, because it's your spell. So you're just constantly healing yourself and getting health back. Actually, I'm going to show you guys exactly what I mean by the Devouring Orb. Like, so if I put Devouring Orb on autocast here, you will see that every time it comes off cooldown, without me having to push it, it's automatically going to cast. Now, if I go into WarPath and I'm using WarPath, it will no longer cast. You'll see it's not casting. But if I use Time Reversal, which will be an insta-cast, you'll notice that it cast it, and I'm instantly almost back into WarPath. So when I hit Time Reversal, so long as you have Devouring Orb and autocast, it will do that for you. So you can just hit that, boom, it casts it for you. You'll notice they almost have the same cooldown. As soon as you hit it, boom, it casts it again. And you can see how in WarPath, you can have multiple Devouring Orbs with as little downtime out of WarPath as possible. And then Abyssal Echoes, you obviously can use like I did while you're WarPathing because it's an insta-cast. With that, I'm going to go ahead and get into some gameplay for you guys.